The wail pierced the air like a siren in the dead of night, my nephew's tiny fists flailing against the faded denim of Grandpa's overalls, as if he could punch through the generations of silence that had choked our family for years. "I told you, boy, this ain't no place for your kind of weakness," Grandpa snarled, his voice a gravelly rumble that drowned out the baby's screams, his gnarled hand hovering too close to the old revolver tucked in his belt, the one he'd sworn was just for rattlesnakes and regrets. In that frozen heartbeat, as the kitchen light flickered like a dying firefly over the blood-red Formica table, I realized the secret I'd buried deeper than his casket would ever go was clawing its way out, and it was going to take us all down with it. My name is Austin Harper, and if you'd asked me a year ago where I'd be on a sweltering August evening in 2025, I would have said knee-deep in lesson plans for my 8th grade history class at Elmwood High, or maybe nursing a craft IPA at the Rusty Anchor with the guys, pretending the ache in my chest was just from too many miles on the gravel roads of our little corner of Michigan. But life has a way of rewriting your syllabus without asking, and here I was, back in the sagging farmhouse on County Road 17, the one that smelled like mothballs and unspoken grudges, staring down the barrel of everything I'd run from. It started with Jordan. God, even saying his name in my head feels like swallowing sunlight after a Michigan winter, warm, inevitable, a little blinding. We met 2 years back at a teachers' conference in Grand Rapids, the kind where burned-out educators huddle like survivors of a slow-motion apocalypse, clutching styrofoam cups of coffee that tastes like regret. I was there for the mandatory PD credits, doodling timelines of the Underground Railroad on my notepad to stay awake. He was the keynote speaker, some hotshot from Chicago who ditched corporate consulting to teach civics in an inner-city school, all sharp jawline, and eyes like Lake Huron on a stormy day, gray-green, and pulling you under before you knew you were swimming. He caught me staring during Q&A, mid-rant about how history isn't dead white guys in wigs, but living breaths in the margins, the queer kids coding secret languages in the back of the classroom. "You got a question, Mr. Harper?" he'd said, my name tag betraying me like a snitch. The room chuckled, but his smile hit like a curveball, playful, knowing, like he'd seen right through my pressed khakis and the way I kept my left hand in my pocket to hide the tremble. After, over watery punch in the hotel lobby, we talked until the janitor kicked us out. About Detroit's ruins, the pulse of Motown records in our veins, how teaching felt like herding cats toward a cliff, but damn if it didn't make you believe in redemption. By dawn, we'd kissed in the elevator, fumbling and fierce, like two boys who'd waited their whole lives for permission. It was messy, electric, his stubble scraping my chin, my fingers tangling in his dark curls, the ding of the doors mocking us as we broke apart, laughing breathlessly. "This is crazy," I'd whispered, heart hammering like I'd just outrun a freight train. "Nah," he'd grinned, thumb brushing my lip. "This is us." That us carried us through stolen weekends in motels off I-96, hikes in the Porcupine Mountains where we'd pretend the world ended at the tree lean, and quiet nights in my Lansing apartment where he'd cook risotto that tasted like Italy on a budget, and I'd read him passages from Walt Whitman, our legs entwined under a thrift store quilt. Jordan was out and proud, the kind of gay man who wore rainbow pins on his lanyard and quoted Audre Lorde in parent-teacher emails without flinching. Me? I was the poster child for Midwestern nice, closeted since high school, when Dad caught me with a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room hidden under my mattress and called it poison for the soul. Mom just smoothed my hair and whispered, "Family first, Austin. Always." So I nodded, swallowed the truth, and built walls higher than the dunes at Sleeping Bear. Jordan knew, didn't push. "Your pace, AUS," he'd say, kissing my temple. "I'm not going anywhere." But love's a sneaky bastard. It seeps in, floods the basement of your careful life. 6 months in, he proposed, not with a ring, but over diner pancakes at 2 a.m., sliding a key to his Chicago walk-up across the greasy table. "Build with me," he said. I said yes. And just like that, we were planning a life. Him applying for a transfer to a district up north, me dreaming of us adopting someday, turning some creaky Victorian into a home where history wasn't just taught but lived. Then the call came. Mom's voice, thin as onion skin. "Your grandpa's fading, Austin. Doctors give him weeks. Come home." Home. That word tasted like ash. Grandpa Harlan, stoic farmer, Korean War vet, the man who'd taught me to bait a hook and mend a fence, but also preached fire and brimstone about sodomites from his lazy boy, Fox News droning in the background like a bad omen. I'd avoided family gatherings since college, blaming lesson prep or grading marathons. But blood's thicker than the ink on my diplomas, so I drove the 4 hours west, Jordan's hand heavy on my thigh the whole way, his silence louder than the engine. The farmhouse hadn't changed. Peeling white clapboard, the front porch sagging like Grandpa's shoulders, the air thick with the scent of overripe tomatoes from the garden mom still tended like a penance. She met us at the door, her hug bone-crush and fleeting, eyes skittering past Jordan like he was a shadow. "Brought a friend?" she asked, voice pitched too high. "Jordan Ellis," he said, extending a hand she shook like it might burn. "Pleasure, ma'am." Inside, the living room was a shrine to the past. Faded photos of Dad in his army fatigues, my sister Lena's wedding portrait, and Grandpa in the recliner, oxygen tube snaking from his nose to a hissing tank, his eyes milky but sharp as ever. "Dinner's at 6, Mom murmured, vanishing into the kitchen. Jordan squeezed my elbow. "You've got this." And I nodded, throat tight. Grandpa's gaze pinned me like a specimen. "Boy," he wheezed, "you look soft. City's ruining you." I forced a laugh, perched on the ottoman. "Just teaching the next generation, Grandpa." He grunted, waving a liver-spotted hand. "Teach him right, then. No fairy tales." That night, after Jordan crashed on the guest room futon, and I lay awake in my boyhood bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck up at 12, the first crack appeared. A soft knock. Lena, slipping in like a ghost, her hair in a messy bun, nursing bra peeking from her flannel. My big sister, the golden child who'd married her high school sweetheart, popped out a baby boy 9 months ago and named him Elias, after Grandpa. "He's asking about you," she whispered, perching on the bed's edge. "Why the bodyguard?" I sighed, rubbing my face. "He's not. Jordan's my partner. From work." Her brow furrowed, then smoothed. "Oh, like colleague, closer to the truth than she'd ever know." We talked then, really talked, about her exhaustion, the colic keeping Elias up, how Tommy's overtime at the mill left her drowning. "Grandpa's been off," she admitted, voice dropping. "Ranting more. About the world going to hell." I nodded, the old guilt twisting. If she knew about me, about Jordan. The next days blurred, helping Mom with chores, wheeling Grandpa to PT. Jordan charming the nurses with stories of Chicago's pride parades disguised as city festivals. But tension simmered, a pot left too long on the boil. Grandpa cornered me in the barn one afternoon. "Hey, dust motes dancing in the slant of light. That boy's too friendly," he spat, leaning on his cane. "What are you playing at, Austin?" My pulse thundered. "Just a friend, Grandpa." "Drop it." His laugh was a cough. "Friends don't look at each other like that. Seen it before. Your Uncle Ray. Thought he was clever, hiding in the cities. Came home in a box. Uncle Ray, the family phantom, lost to the war, but whispered about in darker tones. Suicide, the rumors went, after Dad disowned him for being unnatural. I bolted, chest heaving, found Jordan by the creek, skipping stones. "He knows," I gasped. Jordan pulled me close, his heartbeat steady against mine. "Then let him. We're not hiding forever." But we were. That night, over meatloaf and mashed potatoes that tasted like sawdust, Grandpa's eyes bored into us, and when Jordan passed the gravy, their fingers brushed. Innocent, accidental, and the old man flinched like he'd been scalded. Elias's cries woke us all around 3 a.m., a keening that rattled the windows. Lena stumbled down, bleary-eyed, scooping him from the bassinet in the hall. But he wouldn't settle, face purple, tiny body arching. "Shoo, baby, Mama's here," she cooed, pacing. Jordan appeared in boxers and a tee, hair tousled. "Need a hand." Before she could answer, Grandpa shuffled in, robe askew, the revolver glinting in the lamplight like a forbidden talisman. "Give him here," he growled, arms outstretched. Lena hesitated, then handed over the bundle, trust born of decades, not doubt. That's when it shattered. Elias's wail escalated to a scream, raw and primal, as Grandpa cradled him awkwardly, muttering, "Quit your fussin', boy. World's tough, start learning now." but his free hand dipped to his belt, fingers grazing the gun's grip, and in the shadows, it looked like threat, like the stories I'd heard of men like him straightening out what they deemed crooked. Lena froze, eyes widening on the glint of steel. "Dad, what the hell?" Her voice cracked, panic blooming. Grandpa blinked, confused. "Just protection. For the boy." She snatched Elias back, backing away, phone already in hand. "I'm calling 911. Now." The operator's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Ma'am, what's the emergency?" And she babbled. "My baby's screaming, my father's armed, I don't know." Sirens wailed distant, closing in, and I lunged for Grandpa's arm, Jordan right behind, as the farmhouse erupted into a storm of accusations and tears. In that moment, as blue lights flashed through the curtains, I knew the secret wasn't just mine anymore. It was ours, and it was spilling out like blood from an old wound. The deputies arrived like avenging angels in tan uniforms, their boots thudding on the linoleum as Mom flung open the door, her nightgown twisted, face streaked with the mascara of fresh grief. "Thank God," she breathed, while Lena clutched Elias to her chest, rocking him in the rocker that had soothed her own childhood tantrums. Grandpa slumped in his chair, the revolver now on the coffee table like a surrendered flag, his chest heaving with labored breaths. "It's nothing," he muttered, but his eyes, those pale blue chips of Lake Michigan ice, darted to me, accusatory, as if I'd summoned the storm. Jordan hovered at my shoulder, his presence a quiet anchor in the whirlwind, but I felt the fracture lines spreading. The lead deputy, a burly guy named Kowalski with a mustache like a 70s cop show reject, took statements with the practiced boredom of small-town calls. "Weapon in the home with an infant, ma'am. That's a no-go," he said to Lena, jotting notes. She nodded, voice trembling. "He wouldn't hurt him. Dad's just sick." Confused. But the doubt lingered, thick as the humidity pressing against the screens. They took Grandpa aside for questions, his cane tapping a defiant rhythm, while a female officer, Rodriguez, her badge gleamed, sat with us womenfolk, Elias finally quieting to hiccuping whimpers against Lena's shoulder. "Sounds like a welfare check," she said gently. "No charges if it's just disorientation." Mom wrung her hands, whispering prayers under her breath, the rosary beads clicking like Morse code for forgiveness. Me? I was unraveling, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down like the summer heat wave that had baked the cornfields brittle. When the deputies finally cleared out, Grandpa contrite, the gun confiscated for safekeeping, dawn was bleeding pink across the horizon, painting the silos in hues of false promise. Jordan and I retreated to the porch swing, its chains creaking under us as we sipped bitter coffee from chipped mugs. "That was too close," he murmured, his knee bumping mine, a small rebellion against the house's watchful eyes. I nodded, throat raw. "He saw us. Last night, the way you looked at me. It's poison to him." Jordan turned, his face shadowed but fierce. "Then poison it is. Austin, we can't keep dancing around this. Your family's imploding. Elias needs stability, not this powder keg." I flinched, the words landing like buckshot. Stability. That's what I'd promised when we started fostering applications last spring, dreaming of a nursery painted sky blue, story time with books about two dads building sandcastles. But Michigan's adoption laws for same-sex couples were a labyrinth of good intentions and red tape, and my closet was the biggest hurdle. "I know," I whispered, "but outing us now? With him dying? It'd kill Mom. Kill them all." He sighed, pulling me into a half-hug, careful not to cross lines the walls had eyes for. "Love isn't a footnote, Ouse. It's the whole damn book." We sat like that until the screen door banged, Lena emerging with Elias swaddled like a burrito, her eyes puffy but determined. "Coffee," she offered, sinking beside us. Jordan accepted, charming as ever. "Black, 2 sugars, if you've got him," and soon they were chatting, him cooing at the baby, drawing a gummy smile. Watching them, a pang hit me, jealousy, longing. This could be us, if I was brave. But bravery's a luxury when your roots run deep in soil laced with shame. That afternoon, while Jordan ran errands in town, stocking up on diapers and avoiding the gossip mill, I helped Mom in the garden, kneeling in the dirt, pulling weeds that strangled the heirloom tomatoes. "Your friend's nice," she said finally, voice careful as she pruned a vine. Reminds me of you, kind eyes. My hands stilled, soil caking under my nails like guilt. Yeah, he's important. She paused, trowel hovering. Just be careful, Austin. This town's small. People talk. The implication hung, heavy as the humidity. That night, family dinner was a minefield. Tommy home early, sullen from the mill, Grandpa silent but stewing, his oxygen hissing like a serpent. Conversation skated on thin ice. Crops, the Lions' slim playoff chances, Elias's first tooth, until Grandpa cleared his throat, the room snapping to attention. Heard on the news, he rasped, fork stabbing his peas. That Supreme Court nonsense again. Ruling for the queers to marry, adopt. World's upside down. Mom shushed him softly, but Lena's fork clattered. Dad, not at the table. He ignored her, eyes on me. Predatory, piercing. Ain't right, ruining kids. Make him like Uncle Ray. The name dropped like a grenade, splintering the air. Tommy shifted uncomfortably. Mom's face drained white. I froze, fork midway to my mouth, the peas blurring. Jordan's foot nudged mine under the table. Solidarity, a lifeline, but it only amplified the roar in my ears. Grandpa, I said, voice steady by miracle. Uncle Ray was family. We don't talk ill of the dead. His laugh was a bark. Dead 'cause he chose wrong. Shame on us for letting it fester. The words landed like a slap, and something in me cracked. Not broke, but fissured deep. Jordan's hand tensed on his napkin, but he stayed silent, the wise choice in this viper's nest. Dinner ended in scraped chairs and mumbled goodnights, but sleep evaded me. I slipped out to the barn, the loft my old hideout, crickets chorusing like a Greek tragedy. Jordan found me there at midnight, climbing the ladder with a blanket and a flask of bourbon swiped from Dad's cabinet. Thought you'd need backup, he said, settling beside me, shoulders touching in the hay-scented dark. We passed the flask, the burn loosening tongues. Ray was gay. I confessed, the words tumbling like stones down a well. Dad beat him senseless one night, after finding letters from some guy in Detroit. Ray left, joined the army to escape. Came back. Different. Then the pills. Jordan's arm came around me, pulling me close. I'm sorry. That's not love, that's fear. We kissed then, slow and searing, the kind that mends fractures if only for a moment. His lips tasting of bourbon and home, my hands mapping the plains of his back like braille for survival. I love you, he whispered against my neck. All of you. The scared parts too. Tears pricked, hot, and unbidden. I want to tell them. Tomorrow. After PT. He nodded, belief in his eyes brighter than the moon slicing through the slats. But dawn brought reckoning. A frantic pounding on the guest room door. Mom, wild-eyed. Austin, it's Dad. He's gone into town. Said something about fixing things before it's too late. My blood iced. The gun was back. Kowalski had returned it that morning. No harm. Just secure it better. Jordan and I piled into my truck, Lena and Tommy mobilizing too, phones buzzing with frantic texts. We found Grandpa at the old quarry, the one where kids dared each other to jump, his truck idling, him standing at the edge with the revolver loose in his hand, staring into the abyss like it held answers. Dad, Lena screamed, Elias wailing from her arms in the car seat. He turned, slow as an ancient oak, face etched with something beyond anger. Despair, maybe, the kind that hollows men out. Gotta end it, he mumbled. Before I drag you all down. Like I did Ray. The pieces slammed together, the gun not for the baby, but for himself. A mercy in his twisted logic, sparing us the burden of his hate. Tommy lunged, wrestling the weapon away, but Grandpa crumpled, sobbing like a child. Forgive me, Harlan, for the boy I couldn't save. We got him home, doctor called, sedatives administered. As the sun dipped low, painting the fields gold, I sat by his bed, Jordan's hand in mine out of sight. You didn't kill Ray, I said softly. Hate did. But love. Love pulls us back. His eyes met mine, cloudy but seeing. What do you know of love, boy? Everything, I thought. But the word stuck, a final barrier. That night, betrayal bloomed, not from Grandpa, but from within. Tommy pulled me aside in the garage, reeking of mill sweat and cheap beer. Saw you two. In the barn. Kissing like that. His face twisted, not disgust, but fear. Lena knows too. She's scared, for Elias, for Mom. The air sucked out. You tell them? He shook his head. Not yet. But Austin, this family's barely holding. Don't make it worse. It was a plea, a threat wrapped in brotherhood. I nodded, gut churning, and when Jordan asked later, I lied. Just fatigue. The first crack in us. Days blurred into a hospice vigil. Grandpa fading like summer into fall, leaves turning crimson warnings. Jordan and I stole moments, a brush of hands in the hall, whispered, I miss you, over coffee, but the house felt like a pressure cooker, the secret festering. Lena cornered me one evening in the nursery, Elias gurgling on a playmat. Tommy told me, she said, not accusing, but wounded. Why hide it, AUS? We're blood. Tears welled. Because it breaks things. Like with Ray. She hugged me then, fierce. Not us. Not if it's real. For the first time, hope flickered, not a blaze, but a pilot light. But secrets breed shadows. One night, as thunder rumbled over the lake, I overheard Mom on the phone in the kitchen, voice hushed. Yes, Pastor, he's struggling. With Austin, that friend of his, it's unnatural. Pray for us. Betrayal, sharp as shattered glass. She'd seen, suspected, and chosen judgment over questions. I slipped away, found Jordan on the porch, rain sheeting down. We leave tomorrow, I said, resolve hardening. After I talked to him. Him, Grandpa, Elias, the family I'd both craved and fled. The climax brewed slow, then erupted. Morning brought Elias's fever, 102, spiking fast. Lena panicked, pediatrician unavailable, so to the ER in Traverse City. We caravanned, tension thick as fog off the bay. In the sterile wait, Grandpa, miraculously lucid, watched Jordan soothe the baby with a rocking motion, humming an old spiritual. You got a gentle way, he grunted. Jordan met his gaze. Learned from the best men I know. A beat, then, like Austin. The room stilled. Mom gasped. Tommy stiffened. Grandpa's hand trembled on his cane. What are you saying? Jordan didn't flinch. That we love each other. Deeply. And that's no sin. Chaos. Mom's sobs. Lena's pleas for calm. Tommy's muttered curses. But Grandpa wept. Not rage, but release. Ray, he whispered. I drove him away. Called him abomination. But he wrote me before. Said he just wanted to be seen. The letter, hidden in a Bible, yellowed and forgotten. Spilled out then, Ray's words a lifeline. Dad, love me as I am, or let me go. In that fluorescent hell, as Elias's cries echoed down the hall, the misunderstanding unraveled. Grandpa hadn't threatened the baby. The gun was his coward's exit, born of guilt over Ray, projected onto shadows he feared in me. Forgive an old fool, he rasped, gripping my hand. I did, tears mingling. Only if you do. The ER discharged Elias by noon. Ear infection, antibiotics prescribed, the drama deflating like a punctured tire. But the real surgery happened in the hospital cafeteria, under the hum of vending machines and the indifferent chatter of nurses on break. We clustered around a Formica table sticky with old spills, styrofoam cups steaming with institutional coffee that tasted like boiled regret. Grandpa sat at the head, diminished in his wheelchair, oxygen mask fogging with each labored breath, but his eyes, cleared of that milky veil, held a clarity I'd never seen, like storm clouds parting over the dunes. I owe you truths, he started, voice amplified by the mic of his cannula, the words scraping out like gravel from a truck bed. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Lena balanced Elias on her hip. Tommy slouched with arms crossed like a reluctant bouncer. Jordan and I sat side by side, our knees touching under the table, a quiet declaration, no longer hidden. Ray wasn't weak, Grandpa continued. He was brave. Braver than me. I saw the letters, the photos, him with that fella from the city. Thought it was the devil's work, ruining the Harper name. Beat him, like my pa beat me for crying over a lost dog. Sent him packing. The air thickened, confessions hanging like Spanish moss. Uncle Ray's story unfolded in fragments. The lover named Marco, a mechanic with tattooed knuckles and a laugh like thunder. Their stolen summers in a rented cabin up north. The discharge papers from the army, honorable but haunted. He came home once, Grandpa said, voice cracking. Begged me to understand. I quoted Leviticus, told him to pray it away. He left with nothing, but a duffel and a note. Love's not a choice, Dad. Hiding it is. The overdose in a Detroit flophouse, pills chased with cheap whiskey, ruled accidental, but we all knew. Mom broke first, her hand covering Grandpa's. Why didn't you tell us? He shrugged, frail shoulders rising like fallen leaves. Shame's a heavy load, Evelyn. Carried it till it bent me double. Lena leaned in, fierce as a mama bear. And the gun? With the baby? Grandpa winced. Thought, if I couldn't face my sins, better end it quick. Didn't mean to scare the boy. Elias, he's got Ray's eyes. Reminds me every time. Tears traced rivulets down his cheeks, and in that moment, he wasn't the patriarch, the bigot. He was Harlan, broken by the very code he'd wielded like a club. My turn came like a spotlight in a darkened theater, heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted out. I'm gay, Mom. Have been since forever. The words landed soft, but they echoed. Jordan's not a friend. He's my partner. My future. Gasps, yes. Mom's hand to her mouth, Tommy's jaw clenching, but no thunderclap. Lena smiled, watery. Knew it. Hoped you'd say it. Tommy grunted, figured. Just, don't make it weird at Thanksgiving. Mom. Mom reached across, her palm cool on mine. My boy. Why hide? Sobs choked me. Because of Ray. Because of Dad. Because I thought it'd destroy us. Jordan spoke then, his voice steady as the Mackinac Bridge in a gale. It almost did. But love doesn't destroy, it rebuilds. Austin's the strongest man I know, teaching kids to question, to stand tall. We want a family someday. Like this one, but without the walls. Grandpa nodded, slow. Then build it, boys. Don't let fear win. Forgiveness rippled out, a current warming the chill, but undercurrents tugged. Years of damage don't mend with one sit down. As we wheeled him to the van, rain pattering on the asphalt like hesitant applause, I caught Mom's whisper to Lena. Pastor won't like this. The old world clashing with the new, a fault line ready to shift. Back at the farmhouse, normalcy was a fragile truce. We nursed Grandpa through chemo side effects, hospice now, the endgame in sight, while Jordan and I navigated the fresh air of openness. No more furtive glances. He'd sling an arm around my waist while flipping pancakes, kiss my temple over suds in the sink. Lena teased us mercilessly. Get a room, lovebirds, and Elias babbled dada at us both, oblivious to the miracles. Tommy thawed slow, bonding with Jordan over Tigers games on the radio, sharing stories of mill life and the quiet terror of layoffs. You're all right, he admitted one dusk, clinking beer bottles on the porch. For a city slicker. But conflict doesn't evaporate. It simmers, waiting for a spark. The betrayal came mid-September, leaves turning russet pyres, when Pastor Ellis, irony of ironies, no relation to Jordan, arrived unannounced, Bible in hand like a warrant. Mom had called him, of course, her Catholic guilt a leaky faucet dripping doubt. He cornered us in the parlor, Grandpa dozing in the next room, his voice booming scripture like cannon fire. This abomination under your roof, Evelyn? It's a blight on your soul. Mom wilted, but Lena fired back. It's love, Pastor. Same as yours and Mary's. He turned on me, eyes blazing. Repent, boy, or you'll burn like your uncle. Jordan stepped forward, calm fury in his stance. With respect, sir, that's not Christianity. That's control. Jesus hung with outcasts, not crusaders. The pastor sputtered, but Grandpa's voice cut through, weak but whip-sharp from the doorway. Enough, Amos. I've repented plenty. These boys stay. The pastor stormed out, tires spinning gravel, but the damage lingered. Mom's faith fracturing, late-night prayers turning to questions. Is God mad at me for loving you? Psychological depths yawned wider then, my own demons clawing up. Nightmares of Ray's ghost, accusatory. You hid too, brother. Let the hate win. I'd wake sweating, Jordan's arms a tether pulling me back. We're rewriting the story. He'd murmur, tracing circles on my back. But doubt not. Was I strong enough? For him, for the family we craved? The decision crystallized one crisp morning, frost etching the windows like lace. Jordan's transfer approved to a school in Petoskey, 2 hours north, lake views and progressive board. Come with me, he urged, over oatmeal steaming with cinnamon. Start fresh. Us, a house, maybe foster care. I wanted to. God, The pole was magnetic, but roots are barbed wire. Grandpa's time is short, I said. And Mom, she's trying. He nodded, hurt flickering. I'm not asking you to choose. Just don't choose alone. The misunderstanding deepened that week. A misheard phone call, me assuring Lena I'd handle the family after Jordan left, twisted in his mind to abandonment. He confronted me in the attic, amid boxes of Christmas ornaments and forgotten yearbooks. Are you staying for them or from fear? His voice broke, raw. I can't compete with ghosts, Ouse. The argument escalated, words like shrapnel, my accusations of impatience, his of cowardice. You've always known who you are. I shouted. I had to unlearn hate. He slammed down, tears hot. And I'm tired of being your practice run. He packed that night, duffel thumping down the stairs, my pleas chasing him. Wait, don't. But pride's a blindfold, and he drove off into the dusk, taillights fading like a severed lifeline. Betrayal, self-inflicted, hollowed me out. Grandpa noticed, of course, eyes sharp even as his body failed. Fought, he wheezed from his bed, hooked to monitors beeping like impatient clocks. I nodded, collapsing in the wingback. Pushed him away. Like you did, Ray. He gripped my wrist, fierce. Then fix it, boy. Love's worth the crawl. Wisdom from the grave's edge, but it ignited something, a desperate clarity. I called Jordan, voicemail after voicemail. I'm sorry. I'm coming. We build together. The high tide of emotion crested at Grandpa's vigil 2 nights later. Snow flurried early, blanketing the fields in hush, as family gathered, cousins from Ohio, aunts with casseroles like armor. Elias toddled his first steps across the living room rug, collapsing into giggles, and in that joy, the room softened. But as midnight tolled, Grandpa rallied, voice a whisper roar. Austin. The letter, Ray's Bible. Mom fetched it, dust motes dancing in the lamplight, and he pressed it into my hands. Read it. For all of us. Ray's words, penned in faded blue ink. Dad, if you're reading this after, know I forgive you. Not for the hits, but for the hurt you carried from your own pa. Be better for Austin. He's got your heart, soft under the tough. Love wins, even in the dark. Sobs echoed, cathartic, and Grandpa turned to me, eyes locking. You're my redemption, boy. Go get your Marco. The room stilled, then erupted in embraces. Mom's hug fierce, Lena's whisper, proud of you. Tommy's gruff, drive safe. I left at dawn, snow crunching under tires, heart a war drum. The drive to Chicago was a blur, 6 hours of podcasts on queer history, windows down to taste freedom's bite. Jordan's door, in that walk-up off Lakeshore Drive, loomed like Judgment Day. He answered in sweats, eyes shadowed. But when I blurted, I'm all in, no more half measures, he yanked me inside. Our kiss a collision of relief and fire, bodies pressing like we'd been adrift at sea. We talked till sunrise, over takeout Low Main and the skyline twinkling like fallen stars, plans for the move north, adoption agencies with rainbow flags, therapy for the scars. High school sweethearts, he teased, lacing our fingers. Minus the drama. But the call came mid-laugh. Mom, voice splintered. He's gone, Austin. Peaceful. Wanted you to know. He loved you. All of you. Grief hit like a rogue wave. But in Jordan's arms, it didn't drown. We drove back for the funeral, the church not pastors, but a progressive one in town, stained glass rainbowed by snow-filtered light. Eulogies flowed. Lena's of forgiveness, Mom's of growth, mine of legacies rewritten. As we lowered the casket into Michigan clay, Jordan's hand in mine, I felt the shift, from hiding to healing, hate's long shadow shrinking in love's glare. Yet the climax waited, unexpected as a Midwest twister. Weeks later, sorting Grandpa's attic, I found it. A locked box, key taped beneath. Inside, not just Ray's letters, but photos, him and Marco, beaming on a beach. A will, leaving the farmhouse to my sons, Austin and his partner, to build without walls. Betrayal reversed, Grandpa's secret ally, his final act a bridge over the chasm. Tears blurred the ink, but joy surged. Ours now, a canvas for the family we'd dreamed. Winter clamped down on Michigan like a vice, January winds howling off the lake, frosting the farmhouse windows into abstract art that mimicked the swirl in my soul. Jordan and I had settled into a rhythm. Him commuting to his new gig in Petoskey, teaching civics to kids who eyed him like a unicorn in flannel. Me subbing at Elmwood while we navigated the farmhouse Reno, turning the guest room into a nursery mock-up, walls painted hopeful blue. Mornings started with coffee on the porch swing, bundled in wool blankets that smelled of cedar and possibility, his head on my shoulder as we watched cardinals dart like red punctuation against the snow. But humanism isn't a straight shot. It's a meandering river, carving canyons through complacency. The conflicts resurfaced in layers, like onion skin pages in an old journal. Mom's transformation was the thorniest, her hugs warmer, yes, but laced with questions that nipped like frostbite. The church folk whisper, she'd say over pot roast, passing the gravy with trembling hands. Saying you're leading Austin astray. Jordan would smile, patient as Job. Or maybe we're just loving out loud, Mrs. Harper. She'd nod, but the rosary beads clicked faster at night, her faith a tug-of-war between Leviticus and the Beatitudes. Lena and Tommy provided ballast, their visits a whirlwind of diaper changes and demolition, sledgehammers to outdated walls, laughter echoing as we unearthed Grandpa's hidden stash of jazz records, Coltrane wailing like a soul unbound. Elias took to Jordan like a duckling, clambering into his lap for horsey rides, and watching them, my heart swelled with a fierce protectiveness. Uncle Aus, he'd babble, chubby fingers in my hair, and I'd melt, whispering promises of playdates and permanency. Yet the deep misunderstandings lingered, festering in quiet moments. One February evening, after a blizzard trapped us indoors, Jordan found me in the attic, poring over Ray's letters again, the words blurring through unshed tears. "You're haunting yourself," he said, settling beside me on a trunk dusty with disuse. I shook my head, frustration boiling. What if I'm not enough? For you for this? The doubt, irrational but ironclad, spilled out, the fear that my baggage would weigh him down, turn our love threadbare. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing stubble. "You're my enough, Aus. But you gotta believe it too." The argument that followed was our ugliest yet, not shouts, but barbs honed on insecurity. My accusation that he romanticized the struggle is that I romanticized the sacrifice. "I'm not your redemption project," he snapped, pacing the creaky boards. "I chose you, flaws, family, all." I recoiled, the truth a mirror cracking. "And if I can't leave the farm? The ghosts." Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring, until he sighed, deflating. "Then we haunt together." But decide, Austin. Half-lives kill slow. That night, tangled in sheets chilled by the draft, we made love, not the frantic passion of newness, but a deliberate reclaiming, bodies mapping forgiveness in whispers and sighs. "We're human," he murmured after, breath warm on my neck. "Messy mending. That's the beauty." Dawn brought clarity, a call to the adoption agency, our profile submitted, 2 teachers, mid-30s, heart-scarred but spacious. The waitlist loomed, but hope was a seed planted deep. Spring thawed the conflicts in fits and starts. Mom joined a new congregation, one with a queer youth group and sermons on radical grace. Her first potluck there, she brought my apple pie recipe, whispering later, "Felt like home, Austin." For the first time, Tommy surprised us with a ramp for the porch, for when the little one's here, his gruffness masking a softening heart. But the unexpected climax crashed in May, green shoots pushing through soil like insistent prayers. It started with a letter, certified, from a Detroit law firm. Ray's estate, long dormant, had surfaced, a trust he'd set up pre-overdose, untouched, for a family in need. $50,000, earmarked for education or home. We stared at the check, jaws slack, Jordan's hand finding mine. "He planned for us," I breathed. But the postscript gutted, a note from Marco, Ray's lover, now graying in Florida. "Harlan reached out last year. Confessed everything. Wanted to make it right. This is for Austin. Build the life Ray dreamed." The revelation hit like lightning. Grandpa's deathbed lucidity, no fluke. He'd been scheming redemption, phoning Marco in secret, unearthing the will. Betrayal inverted again, not malice, but mending, a grandfather's quiet crusade. Tears came, hot and healing, and we drove to the quarry that day, scattering wildflower seeds where he'd stood with the gun, a ritual of release. To Ray, Jordan toasted with a thermos of cider, and the Harpers who learned late. Summer bloomed full, the farmhouse reborn, wraparound porch swing for two, nursery stocked with board books, and a crib carved by Tommy's steady hands. Our match came in July. A toddler named Luca, brown curls and wary eyes, from a foster limbo too long. The home study was a gauntlet. Interviews probing our scars, our strengths, but we passed, hearts pounding as we signed. First visit, Luca's tiny hand in mine, Jordan's grin splitting wide. Hey buddy, welcome home. The ceremony was small, lakeside at dusk, the dock where we'd first dreamed it all. Family encircled, Mom beaming, rosary pocketed, Lena with Elias on her hip, Tommy manning the grill with veggie skewers for us. Vows exchanged under a canopy of fireflies. I choose you, every messy dawn. Rings simple, silver bands etched with dunes, and as Luca toddled between us, babbling, the world righted. Not perfect, no? Whispers persist in town. Mom's faith wobbles on windy days. My nightmares occasionally claw. But in the quiet evenings, Jordan's laugh mingling with Luca's giggles, the farmhouse glowing against the twilight. I feel it. Humanity's core, raw and radiant. Love doesn't conquer all. It coexists with the wreckage, turning ruins to roots. Grandpa's ghost lingers, not haunting, but nodding approval from the porch rail, revolver traded for a fisherman's line. We've built, not despite the storms, but through them. And in America's heartland, where corn whispers secrets to the wind, that's victory enough. As the sun dips, painting the lake molten, Jordan pulls me close, Luca asleep on a blanket nearby. Worth it, he asks, echo of our beginnings. I kiss him, slow and sure. Every shattered piece,